Simhara, Egypt is a land of exploration, danger and archaeological thrills. Sims venturing to this rugged locale are sure to find excitement in exploring tombs or hunting for lost treasures. Within ancient structures such as the Great Pyramids or the Temple of the Queen Hatshepsut. Yes. Today we are going back to the very first expansion pack for the Sim 3, the Sim 3 World Adventures. Released in 17 November of 2009, I wanted to cover all tombs and secrets in this expansion pack in just one video, but I early realized there is too much information for just one video, so 2 more videos about this topic coming soon. Simhara, Champsless Sims and All Simhara are 3 destinations that came with this expansion pack. Today we are gonna travel to Egypt, All Simhara, and see what secrets hide there. Al Simhara is an ancient land built against a river full with magic and mystery. It's a land of crocodiles, pyramids and mummies. Al Simhara is of course based from the Egyptian culture. The name is reference to the Sahara Desert. This town features tombs full with treasures you might recognize from Egyptian landmarks such as the Phoenix, pyramids and the Temple of the Queen Hatshepsut. And an evil company that is dedicated to exploiting the region of Al Simhara. I will talk more about them soon. In Al Simhara you can find many fun details. For example, did you know that Abu Simbel is a memorial by the king Ramses II for his wife Nefertari, and the Great Pyramid took over 10 to 20 years to build, somewhere in 2560 BC, and it's over 146.5 meters tall or 281 feet tall if you live in America, and have been the tallest man-made structure in the world for more than 3,800 years. And to top it off all, the Great Pyramid is the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and it's of course the biggest tomb in Al Simhara and usually takes us several days to navigate through. It does have a lot of mummies, and maybe one of them is Khufu himself, who ruled in the first half of the Old Kingdom. He was the second pharaoh of the 4th dynasty. There is a tomb in the Great Sphinx as well, which is also based on the real Egyptian Sphinx. This is the location of the soul piece statue that serves as one of the main ways to cure the mummy's curse from a sim. In order to cure the curse, the Sims must walk in front of the Sphinx. The Sims must then explore the tomb entirely until they reach the soul piece statue. However, the basic info about Sphinx is still a mystery, like when it was built, by whom and what purpose. But in the book Natural History made by Pliny the Elder, saying that the Egyptians look upon the statue as a divinity that has been passed over silence, and that the king Harmeis was buried in it. There is plenty of other pyramids that have the tomb to explore, like the pyramids of the burning sand. The first part of the pyramid you don't need to explore without the key. There are rather nice treasure room in the pyramid with 6 chests as sarcophagus, where they are a hotspot for an encounter of a mummy. This must be based on the pyramid of KHAFRE, which is the 2nd biggest pyramid. And now, just beside these 2 pyramids there are a 3rd one, the pyramid of the wind, and this is the smallest pyramid which is able to be explored. This adventure don't take you much of your time, and you will get a treasure and 1 sarcophagus. So the pyramid is based on the pyramid of Menkaure. Menkaure had an original height of 65.5 meters and are therefore the smallest one of those 3 pyramids. But there is one last pyramid. It is far away from the other pyramid. It's called the Pyramid of the Sky. There is a harvestable life plant, death flower, money tree and a sigil of the tomb of the desert to be found here. So, moving on, the ruins of the Karnak is one of the most visited sites in Egypt. Only the Great Pyramids get more visitors and are the 2nd largest ancient religious site in the world. But who can build such a big pyramids and tombs just by simple tools? How they actually build those are still a mystery to this day, but scientists are now finding more and more clues. So, let's say there is two teams. The first team used a simple tool to dig through the stone. The other team used fire to heat up the cliff and the stone, and then used simple tools as well. And the result, as you guessed it, is that the rocks that got heated were much easier to dig through. And this is a very important answer how they built it. But how did they move around these big rocks is still a mystery. And if you think only slaves build this, you are pretty much wrong. Actually, today's studies find more evidence that the workers actually lived happily and got paid. They are farmers. We have talked about a few tombs and what they are, and I wanted to check out the tomb for myself, and the first thing I saw and what I needed is a key to unlock the door. I found the key, and the key were a symbol of the half moon, so it made me thinking it might be the reference to Khonsu, which were an Egyptian god. Yes, the god of the moon. His name reflects the fact that the moon reflects as La in Egyptian, travels across the night sky, for it means traveler. There is a camp called Moon Camp. There is also an Earth Camp and a Sun Camp in Simhara, which is the reference to the god Ra, which is the god of the sun. Or it can just be a reference that the astronomy meant very much to Egyptians. I also met this mummy. His name is King Raimondo Rodjikare, if I can pronounce that right. However, his name is indicated that he was surely a part of Egyptian royalty. He is notable to be one of the very few mummies to have a predetermined name. Most of the mummies have a random ones. In fact, his name is invariable since his sarcophagus was programmed to only release mummies which are named King Raimondo. This is why his physical attributes are random. I must say I love making these SimFacts videos because I learned things I never knew existed before. For example, you can actually fish crocodiles. You can get crocodiles from the oasis and the river, and I didn't know about this before. So I will make sure my Sims are fishing after this episode is done. Now, when we're talking about the river, I assume it's a reference to the famous Nile, and I discovered that they also have actually a god for that too. Happy is his name. Now, let's just jump back to what I said earlier in this episode, Morcocorp. Yes, that is the name of the malicious corporation dedicated to exploiting the region of Simhara. Morcocorp is also featured in my Sim series led by a Sim named Morcobus, who is the main villain. You as a player can choose if you want to work for or against the company. Morcocorp representatives quickly stoop to bribing locals and seek contracts with market merchants to ensure that the company has a steady supply of relics to trade, presumably on a black market. In one adventure, opportunity has Sims seeking relics for Morcocorp from within the pyramids. Another Sims infiltrating the secret of Morcocorp base by hacking, and the Morcocorp members are selected randomly. This company is only here in Simhara and not in any other world. So let's take a look at the curses. In fact, a curse of the pharaohs refers as an alleged curse believed by some to be cast upon any person who disturbs the mummy of an ancient Egyptian, especially a pharaoh. And as you know, if the mummy gets to you, you get cursed. However, the sim will not be cursed if the mummy merely knocks them unconscious. There is 8 ways to lift the curse. One of the famous ones is to visit the Sphinx, explore it completely, and use the cleanse interactions on a special statue. Now, if you don't lift the curse within the 2 weeks, your sim will die, and that is what happened to Samir Kwar. There have been discussion if the Egyptian curse even exists, but the curse brought a lot of attention when a few members of the Howard Carter's team just died in a mysterious way. And Carter's team were the ones who opened the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922. In reality though, there is no curse. I was looking around the world to see if I could find anything more, and I did. There is a boat along the beachside, and you might think this is just a regular boat, but it might have more history than that. This could be a reference to King Khufu's ship. The KHAFRE ship is one of the oldest, largest and preserved vessels. The history and function of the ship are not precisely known. It is of the type known as a solar barge, a ritual vessel to carry the resurrected king with the sun god Wher across the heavens. It's possible that the ship was either a funeral barge used to carry the king's embalmed body from Memphis to Giza, or even that KHAFRE himself used it as a pilgrimage ship to visit holy places, and that it was buried for him to use in afterlife. And the KHAFRE boat is one of the greatest discoveries we have found. KHAFRE or KHAFRE, I don't really know how to pronounce his name right, to be honest, but hopefully you will understand what I mean. However, water meant much to them. It meant life, and the river Nile meant the world. Also, a fun fact: from the river, the Egyptian royalty family found Moses, and you already know the story about Moses, don't you? Let's talk about the tomb here in Simhara that also have a lot of great history. The Queen Hatshepsut temple. Hatshepsut was a female pharaoh during the Kinu kingdom in Egypt. 20 years after her death, somebody smashed her statues, took a chisel and attempted to erase the pharaoh's name and image from history. But who did it and why? Because she's a woman, she shouldn't be a pharaoh even though she was allowed to be one. But many Egyptians didn't like this. She was the wife of Thutmose II. His son Thutmose III was going to be the pharaoh, but because he was still a boy when his father died, Hatshepsut took the throne and helped her stepson, and he didn't like that, so he could be the one who tried to erase her from history. Many think she was a bad pharaoh, but evidence shows that she was a pretty good one. She was a great builder. She did the temple of Djeseru, if I can pronounce that right. She had a strong religious connections, and she did have a successful military career. But we need to also be careful with all of this evidence. Most of it she wrote herself. So was it her stepson because she stole his throne? No, unlikely, because this happened 20 years after she died, and that's a long time to be angry at someone, but they could have done it anyway. To erase that a woman ever sat on the Egyptian throne, but happily few evidence survived, and we could see who this powerful woman really was. The treasure you find in her tomb is her own personal diary, maybe as a reference to that she told her own story. You can also see around in the world for a statue of a female from an Egyptian royalty family. This could be a reference to this queen. Well, that's my theory at least. This picture is a picture on King Nayar. He was a king. His royal wedding tapestry represents his marriage with Nusila. There is 2 pictures to be exact. She is also a reference in a book that you can purchase in Simhara. I could talk all day long about ancient Egypt, and it's really fascinating, and what I have discussed today is just an extremely small part what happened here thousands of years ago. There's one more thing I want to talk about though. I forgot to say this. Inside the Great Pyramid is the king's chamber, and only furnished with a box carved into the granite in 1 block, which required a drilling force of 2 tons. Napoleon had a shocking experience as he was left alone in that room during a visit in Egypt. He never wanted to talk about it, and he lied about the event. When he was on his deathbed, he answered, "No, what's the use? You will never believe me." And my job is to make your seem smarter. But Mimsi's painting was created the same day they both died. So the Mimsi painting was not the painting he threw the day they caused the fire to happen. I was digging into the web to find the answer, and then I came across something that changed everything, that explains everything.